Bom dia, bom dia, bom dia, pessoal. Sejam bem-vindos aí, né? Estou aqui hoje nessa honra da bancada, ao meu lado, Fátima Bernardes, abaixo, Maju. Brincadeiras à parte, pessoal. Todos sejam bem-vindos aí. Hoje teremos a ilustre presença de Alberto Ferrari, um dos mestres do DAX, e também dos outros dois mestres aqui que eu tenho a honra, Rafael Mendonça e Dirceu Rezende. Fala, galera!
Boa noite, pessoal. Boa noite. Bom dia, né?
Boa noite. O Rafael está em outro país já. Boa noite, Itália. Bom dia, Brasil.
Não, Itália é de tarde agora. Inclusive,
Exato.
Esse negócio de horário deu um probleminha aí, não foi?
Deu um probleminha aí com o nosso convidado. Já vocês vão saber a história.
Vai chamando o pessoal aí, vai dando like no canal. Hoje a gente vai ter 2 momentos da live por conta desse probleminha de fuso horário aí. De horário de verão na Europa, alguns problemas aí houveram, mas o homem vai estar, o Moisés dizendo que eu não dormi. Dormi até bem. Só um refluxo danado, mas dormi. Então vai chamando o pessoal, vai chamando pra live, pra se aproximar aí. Senta no sofá, bota na televisão, vamos tirar dúvida. Hoje a ideia é a gente abrir também aqui para dúvidas do pessoal. Meu microfone tá ruim? Deixa eu mudar aqui então o microfone.
Tá bom. Tá bom, para mim tá bom.
O pessoal tá dizendo que tá ruim, mas eu vou mudar.
Tá bem mais baixo que o meu, mas bom, não tem problema.
Pode ser, porque eu tô com o outro aqui.
O Cláudio
melhorou?
Já tá colocando aqui, ó.
Melhorou, tá bem mais alto.
Lisboa, Portugal.
Agora eu não tô ouvindo vocês, espera aí.
Ficou até com voz de William Bonner, né?
Vocês estão me ouvindo?
Sim, normal.
Normal, pessoal, vai falando aí de onde vocês estão.
Que legal, né? Oi.
Tá bom.
Vão tocando aí, que eu vou tentar ajeitar aqui.
Tranquilo, Rafa. Então... Pessoal, a verdade... Desculpa, Dirceu, rapidinho. A verdade é que deu a louca no patrão, né? A gente teve um probleminha aí com a questão de fuso horário. E a gente vai fazer 2 lives em uma, né? Comprou uma e agora você recebe 2. Fala, Dirceu.
Fala, pessoal. Bom dia. Vai chegando aí, vai deixando o like aí, que ajuda a gente a fazer esse conteúdo chegar a mais pessoas. Chama seus amigos aí que ainda estão acordando com aquela cara de sono, mas a live vai ser bem maneira. E Alberto Ferrari, não dá pra gente perder a oportunidade. É a primeira vez que ele tá falando para o público do Brasil e vai saber quando que ele vai falar de novo. Então, vamos colar aí, vamos avisar pra galera que tá tendo essa live e bora fazer esse conteúdo chegar a todo mundo que trabalha com Power BI.
Isso aí, Rui. Então, a gente vai começar por onde, hein?
Então, Rafa, vamos fazer o seguinte. Tem uma coisa que a gente já estava querendo fazer há algum tempo, que é basicamente o seguinte. Tornar a nossa live ainda mais participativa. A gente sempre pede que vocês participem, deixem comentários e tal, falem aqui com a gente. Mas a gente queria também fazer o famoso se vira nos 30, né? A gente vai solicitar dúvidas para vocês aqui nos comentários e vocês vão colocando as dúvidas e a gente vai tirando as dúvidas em Power BI de uma forma geral, ok? Então,
seja dúvida de comentários, Luiz, mas dúvida de outras lives, né?
Também.
Dúvida de outras lives. Inclusive, já tem uma quentinha aqui. Quando tu prepara para aquela outra, Rui, se você quiser, eu já mando aqui. Na última live que a gente fez, de atualização incremental, não. De Power BI Premium por usuário. Se você perdeu a live de Power BI Premium por usuário, tá aqui no canal. É a última live que a gente fez ontem ou foi anteontem, não me lembro. E uma pergunta que ficou, cara, já tá podendo fazer Direct Query em Dataflow, né? Já está podendo fazer Direct Query em Dataflow? Ficou essa pergunta, ficou essa dúvida. Eu não mostrei na live, porque ainda não tinha testado, né? Então, vou mostrar agora para vocês que sim, no Premium por usuário já está disponível Direct Query em Data Flow. Então, vou compartilhar aqui, abrir aqui meu Power BI. Show de bola. Para quem viu, a gente, lógico, para trazer aí, usar o Premium para o usuário, primeiro você precisa solicitar para a Microsoft no formulário que está lá na live. Lá tem um formuláriozinho que você pode preencher e solicitar o Premium para o usuário da sua empresa, tá? Como versão free, você vai ter 25 licenças possíveis, tá? E lá a gente explica um pouco mais. E aqui, ó, eu já tenho um workspace que a gente usou na live lá. O workspace se chama Premium por usuário, também é o nome do workspace, né? E eu tenho algumas conexões, né? A gente usou uma conexão lá chamada teste. Opa, olha aí, eu pensei que a gente ia utilizar. Chegou o mestre Alberto Ferrari aqui com a gente. Alberto Ferrari is right now with us. Hi, Alberto. Good morning.
Oh, here I am. Cool.
I'm sorry for the mistake with the hour. We are initiating here and starting here and talk about another things in Power BI. But we can start right now your session.
No, actually, you can just go ahead for a couple of minutes because I was about to prepare everything about the session and I haven't prepared anything so far.
Okay, let's go ahead. We'll continue here and stay here with us. We'll talk in Portuguese with our audience here now. Okay.
I will enjoy it a lot.
Ok, thank you. Então, bom, pessoal, continuando aqui a nossa demo aqui com vocês, né? Já aproveitando aqui com a audiência mais do que especial agora, a gente tem uma...
Sem pressão, hein? Sem pressão, hein?
Sem pressão! A gente tem esse data flow, né, que a gente tinha criado. Deixa eu ver aqui um data flow. Tá dizendo que eu não posso. Esse novo. Vamos abrir um data flow que eu tenho aqui. Beleza, então eu tenho esse data flow para quem viu, né? No Premium por usuário, eu posso usar, né? A possibilidade de referenciar outras entidades, uma entidade em outra, né? Utilizando uma feature que antes era só possível no Premium, aqui dentro do data flow, né? E para quem não viu o data flow esses dias, né? Teve várias mudanças legais aqui, aproveitando agora, inclusive aqui, ó, na parte de exibição. Aproveitando, né? Agora, já no Data Flow aqui no Power Query do Data Flow, a gente tem a opção de diagrama, né? O que é esse diagrama? É exatamente quando eu seleciono a tabela, ele me mostra numa versão visual quais são as etapas de transformação dos meus dados, de mesclagem, de expansão. Olha aqui que legal, né? Então, ele já tem isso. Tem outras informações, como, por exemplo, a exibição do esquema da minha tabela, né? Ele vai me mostrar, quando eu seleciono o esquema aqui, ele vai me mostrar todos os meus dados, qual é a tipagem do dado, né? Aqui na parte de fórmulas, em vez de eu mostrar a última etapa, eu posso mostrar o script inteiro. Olha aqui, o script de consulta, não só a etapa que está aplicada. Isso era uma coisa que a gente não tinha mostrado, porque não fazia parte lá do Premium por usuário, mas aproveitando aqui alguns minutos, né? Agora a gente tem a opção de editar em tempo de execução aqui, sem abrir aquela outra telinha do editor avançado, né? Isso dentro do Data Flows, e lógico, se está dentro do Data Flows, em breve a gente vai ter também no Power BI Desktop, né? Tô nervoso nada, cara, tranquilaço aqui. Então, como eu falei para vocês, agora a gente também tem a permissão no Premium por usuário para fazer... Não, medida nem perigo, André. Vou fazer medida aqui, DAX nenhuma, zero DAX. Então, a gente já tem a opção de fazer o Direct Query. Mas para isso, né, eu preciso fazer uma habilitação aqui no meu Data Flow. O que é que eu preciso fazer? Eu vou no meu Data Flow aqui, de teste, ou no Nova, no caso, e vou clicar aqui, ó, como se eu fosse agendar uma atualização, certo? Na parte do schedule, lá no agendar atualização, eu tenho as configurações aprimoradas do mecanismo de computação. Quando eu habilito esse cara aqui, ó, no ativado, essa tabela vai se tornar uma tabela em possível de ser utilizado o Direct Query. Vamos aplicar, tá? Vamos mandar aplicar esse mecanismo de configuração de computação, né? Aprimorado. E lá no meu Power BI Desktop, alguns momentos ele permite, isso eu já testei, já direto no obter ele já vai aparecer. Em outros momentos a gente tem que fazer uma atualização do data flow. Vamos obter aqui dado e no meu conjunto de dados do Power BI, fluxo de dados do Power BI. E lá no meu fluxo de dados, ele vai mostrar primeiro todos os workspaces que a gente tem, né? E não só as workspaces, vai mostrar as entidades dentro dos meus data flows, né? Os data flows e as entidades. E tem agora uma simbologia, né? Existe uma simbologia específica para dizer que uma entidade está ou não está em Live Connection, né? Quando eu vou aqui em Premium para o usuário, no meu teste, é o teste ou é o Nova? Não me lembro agora. Deixa eu olhar aqui qual é. É o Nova, né? O Nova, ó, ainda não está no Live Connection. O Live Connection, ele aparece disponível com ícone diferente. Então eu preciso primeiro atualizar. Vamos lá atualizar esse pequenininho, rapidinho ele atualiza. Vamos atualizar esse meu data flow. Ele não tem nenhuma conexão específica. Ele está atualizando aqui em alguns poucos segundos. Pronto, concluiu aqui 7 segundos. Show de bola. Vamos obter dados. Fluxo de dados do Power BI. Agora vai ter que aparecer, né? Vamos torcer para eu não queimar minha língua aqui. Ou aqui dentro do meu Premium por usuário. Ó. O Nova. E aqui dentro do Nova você vê agora, eu vou abrir o teste também, você vê que você tem um desenho de 2 tabelinhas, tá? Ficou diferente agora a consulta. Eu vou marcar esse aqui, o consulta, e mandar transformar. Aqui ele vai agora abrir um prompt para a gente identificar se eu quero importar o dado ou se eu quero fazer a minha conexão em Direct Query. Bora ver se ele vai abrir o prompt ou se ele vai abrir direto. Ele não abriu o prompt, porque eu já tinha utilizado esse cara em outra consulta. Deixa eu excluir ele aqui. Vou excluir esse cara todo. Cadê você? Mas ele abre um promptzinho perguntando se você quer utilizar Direct Query ou se você quer utilizar... deixa eu remover na configuração das fontes de dados. Do fluxo de dados, eu vou limpar as permissões. Se ele vai abrir o prompt que eu queria mostrar, exatamente isso. De novo aqui no meu data flow. Alberto, talk to us when you are ready, okay?
You're muted.
Are you?
No
I'm
hurry
not.
for you.
Oi?
Okay, now I can talk.
Okay.
I wrote you in the chat. Whenever you want, I'm ready. I was just enjoying Portuguese. For whatever reason, I associate Portuguese with football matches because that is likely where I only hear talking about Portuguese. So it was like watching a football match.
It's good. It's good. It's a good thing. Vamos lá então, de novo no Dataflow, vamos ver se a gente consegue habilitar o prompt aqui para mostrar esse detalhe para vocês. Tá bem lento aqui meu computador do milhão, como o seu gosta de falar. fluxo de dados do Power BI. Deixa eu entrar nesse cara. Primeira vez que você for fazer, ele vai pedir para entrar, né? Com a sua conta organizacional. Vou entrar com a minha conta aqui. Vamos verificar então nosso premium por usuário. Na nova. Dentro da nova eu vou selecionar as duas consultas. Deixa eu selecionar as duas. Vou dar um OK nesse cara. Se ele não habilitar o prompt, eu vou mandar fechar e aplicar para ver se ele vai habilitar o prompt no fechar e aplicar. Ele não habilitou. Vamos ver se ele vai aplicar agora. Opa. Trabalhando nisso. Agora ele habilitou. Na hora de fechar e aplicar, a gente tem a opção de definir se eu quero que ela seja em Direct Query ou no método import, né? Vou aplicar esse cara em Direct Query. Vamos dar um OK. E o legal quando você está trabalhando com Direct Query é que você também vai ter o Native Query, né? O Native Query ele vai estar habilitado aqui também. Eu vou pegar o de pessoas aqui, idade, nome, sobrenome. Vamos arrastar na minha tela e a gente consegue identificar a query que ele está mandando. E você vai ver que é uma coisa bem diferente do que a gente está acostumado quando está trabalhando com Direct Query numa fonte de dados como o SQL Server, né? Vamos aqui na minha parte de exibição. Meu Performance Analyzer. A gente vê agora a query que ele utiliza aqui por trás. Vou mandar atualizar os visuais. A performance, pessoal, ainda não para mim, no meu gosto. Eu não estou achando muito legal ainda. Mas a gente consegue ver aqui ó, que ele faz um selectzinho. Olha que legal. Né? Ele faz um select lá no nosso data flow. Select from schema de pessoa. Então, tá realmente rodando um direct query aqui, porque ele está enviando a consulta direto lá para a minha fonte do meu data flow. Beleza? Então, se eu tiver uma inserção de novos dados, eu não vou precisar atualizar, o dado já vai puxar direto. Show de bola? Então, vamos chamar nosso mestre, aproveitando que a gente mostrou esse detalhe lá para complementar a nossa live por usuário de seu. Faça as honras da casa, por favor.
Então, beleza, vamos lá chamar. Hi, Alberto. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you in advance for having some time for us to be. It's an honor to have you here in our channel, and we are very happy that we could bring you and Marco in the previous presentation. And yeah, take your time. You can start. And a lot of people here are waiting for this moment because it's the first time. Yeah, it's the first time you're having a session for the Brazilian public, right?
Totally. That's the first session I deliver anything in Brazil, and I've never been in Brazil, by the way. That's one of the places that I want to visit.
You need to came here.
Yeah,
maybe not right now. Looks like hard to be there today.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely one of the places that I really want to visit. For whatever reason, I mean, Italy and Brazil, Spain, it looks like we are the same kind of people.
Yes,
by the face, by the body, by how we are. They are.
And the language is a little close. The language is a little similar to each other, Spanish, Italian, and Portuguese.
Oh, Portuguese is pretty impossible to understand from my point of view. I can read Portuguese, so if you write anything in Portuguese, I would be able to read and get a sense out of it. But if you talk Portuguese, no way. That's totally impossible. But the sound, wow, the sound is, I mean, it's Spanish, Portuguese, French, we all have some musical sound, which is so different if you compare it with German. Hope no German is listening, but it's very different. English too is it's a different sound. Portuguese flows very nicely. I love it. Anyway,
Alberto, sometimes we'll make some pauses to talk in Portuguese to our audience to explain something more complex. Okay, but stay free to talk all the time. Take all the time that you want. You are at home. This channel is there. All of us are great fans of your work with Marco Russo. We are very happy and I love help, a lot of help here. Thank you. I will stop to talk. Sorry.
okay.
I talk too much.
Thank you again.
You have a very simple way to help me because this is a session that I love because it's about optimizing DAX code. And the way I like to do that is live with students, with attendees, and I always ask them to help me in optimizing the code. The problem of going virtual is that it's hard to get any kind of feedback from attendees. You don't see them, you don't talk with them. But today I have 3 students with me, so we can just stay all on the cam together, and I'll just show you the code and we work on that together. You give me ideas, we'll try to implement them, and we make the code faster. Does it sound like a plan?
We will try.
Let's try that.
Okay. So let's start. I need to share my screen, I guess.
Yes. Can you share your screen right in the bottom?
Yeah, I've seen it. I only need to find which screen to share.
I have the same problem. I work with 3 screen. What screen to share?
Yeah, I work with 7, and it's kind
Wow!
of
Sorry for
now I have
for my simplicity. Sorry.
Actually, I have no idea what you are seeing. Are you seeing anything?
That's optimizing.
Okay, so that's the right one. And if I put there, okay, it works. Perfect. No, actually, it's kind of a problem. 7 screen is a bit too much, and a lot of times you don't know where to look at when you're searching for whatever. Okay, let's get started. I'll keep the introduction very, very quick. Welcome, everybody. I'm Alberto Ferrari. I work with Marco Russo at SQL BI. We do a lot of stuff related to analysis services and basically DAX. We love DAX. We like to do DAX. We write books. The Definite Guide to DAX is likely to be the book, the Bible about DAX. We also teach courses. We do consultings. We love to hang out with people, talk about DAX, do anything about DAX. We are always happy to talk at conferences and at user group events. So if you're interested, just ping us and we'll be happy to help. Now, the whole session is about optimizing DAX code. There will not be a lot of theory. I don't want to bore you with theory. The idea is, and if somebody stops you and say, hey, I have a report that is not running as fast as I like, and you are a DAX expert, so I'm pretty sure it will take you no more than 5 minutes to fix it. And this is typically the beginning of a nightmare, a journey in trying to understand where the problem is. And the flow of the session is exactly this one. We'll take a report, the report is slow, and we need to investigate on it. We need to dig into the DAX code, understand where the problem is, try different ways of writing the same expression, test it, until we are happy and we obtain a good working solution. My goal is not that of making you see, wow, that is amazing. That's not the point. The point is the process, starting from a bad formula and fixing it, finding where the problem is. And in the meantime, of course, we will look at some theory because we need to explain some numbers. We need to understand what is the meaning of the number we see. So the basic tool, the main takeaway from the session is how to use DAX Studio to gather information about the performance of your query, understanding the way DAX solves a query and where are the typical pitfalls in a DAX measure. Most important, how to measure performance. So slow doesn't mean anything. Faster doesn't mean anything unless you have a good understanding of how fast it could be. 1 second might be fast or might be slow. That depends on how many rows you are querying. That depends on a lot of different details. We will solve the problem one by one. With that said, we are not going to use the slides for a long time. We have this report, and this is the report our friend at the coffee machine said it's slow. And you can notice it's slow because if you select, for example, professional, you see that it takes some time. You see here this little circle spinning. Oh, zoom works. That's cool. If I change to skill manual, you see that I zoomed the wrong monitor, of course. Let me choose another one. Let's go for clerical. Now, clerical is fast management. Okay, you see the circle spinning, and after some time, the report comes out. So this is what you typically get when anybody tells you that the report is slow. No idea. You don't know where to start from. And so that's the first question for you. Where do we start from? What's the first thing to do?
I will see performance analyzer.
Oh, so it's right there. You don't even worry about the data model. So what's inside here? How many rows we have?
Yeah.
That might be
we can see the data model. Yeah.
Just to have an idea, because again, as I said, fast and slow doesn't really mean anything important. It all depends on how many rows you have and the kind of calculation you do.
Yeah.
So the model is very simple. This is just Contoso. We have customers, orders, data, so 2 dimensions, the orders table, and then we have exchange rate and the currency table. So it's likely we have somewhere some currency conversion happening. Regarding size, well, size is not a big deal. Orders, which is the largest table, contains 1.6 million rows. So it's tiny.
It's not much.
No, it's pretty small. You would expect milliseconds to run any query here.
Yeah.
Currency, it's really small. Customer, 18,000 rows. Date and exchange rates, they are all small tables. So the only table that might create us issues is the orders table that still contains only 1.6 million rows. So the problem is not there for sure. We need to, look at performance analyzer in order to understand where is the problem. So what is the slowest query? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different visuals, and we don't know which is the slowest one. So we do that. We open View, Performance Analyzer. Where are you? Start recording and refresh the visuals. We start gathering numbers. And we have 223 milliseconds, 2170, 299. The first question again for you, what is the meaning of these numbers?
How many milliseconds? How many milliseconds we have to show all the data?
Kind of. Meaning that the correct answer is that the meaning of these numbers is nothing at all. They mean nothing. They do measure a duration in milliseconds, but you need to be very careful when you analyze these numbers, because there are 3 values here: the DAX query, the visual display, and other. DAX query is the time, as you said, the number of milliseconds that it took to execute the query. Visual display is the time that was required to prepare the visual and show it to the user, and there's nothing you can do to improve that. But the funniest of all is other. Other is the time that this specific DAX query had to wait before being executed. When you have 100 visuals, you cannot run all of them together, so a lot of visuals will wait in a queue before they start running. And that time is cumulated under other. So if you just look at the numbers this way, they really mean nothing. You can see very large numbers because it is accumulated all in other. If you want to get any insight, you need to expand these nodes and look at individual values in order to discover where time was spent. And you see we have 11 milliseconds for this query, 1.9 seconds, 11 milliseconds again, half a second, and half a second. So it's likely this is the culprit. This is the query that creates us all the problems. But actually this is not the only query. We have this query and also query that runs in around half a second on 1.6 million rows. So that is definitely bad. There is something wrong here, because over 1.6 million rows you would expect no more than 10-20 milliseconds to run any kind of query. So half a second is definitely too much. Next step is let's see the query. So let's go with the culprit, and we stop with the performance analyzer, and we just use DAX Studio. Give me a second to open it.
No.
Okay. This is the query that takes too much to run. We need to first, before doing anything, take a look at the query. We have three measures being used: open orders, amount in USD, and amount in euro. We have a filter on the customer occupation, and we take a top N and an order by. I never work with queries when they look this way because I cannot read them, so I always clean them a bit, like I take the filter and I move them straight in the query, so I get rid of the variable. I also get rid of top N because it's useless, and then I make it just a bit simpler so I can read and understand what a query does, and besides I can format it. As I said, the first thing that we need to do is isolate the problem. You cannot work on a problem unless you know exactly what you are searching for. First, we had a report. From the report, we moved to queries. Then, among the queries, we chose the worst one. But still, we have three different measures: open orders, amount in USD, and amount in euro. And we don't know which is the slowest one. So we need to measure it. There are this magic button here, query plan and server timings. Query plan provides us a lot of information about the query plan, and it's not relevant for now because it's just overwhelming. There will be too many information there. Server timings, on the other hand, let us understand how long it takes to run a query. And it opens this panel. That is where we will spend most of the time, because this will tell us the total execution time, storage engine, formula engine, and storage engine in milliseconds, plus queries and stuff. Now, we can run the query once, just to have an idea. It was around 3 seconds when executed inside Power BI, and it's still constant, 2.1 seconds. So 2.1 seconds is the time to execute the entire query. And that's the first baseline, but we do have three measures: open orders, amount in USD, and amount in euro. So what next?
What next? To evaluate this measure.
We need to look at them one by one, because maybe 2 seconds are 1/3 each, or one is taking 2 seconds and the other two are super fast. So we get rid of the first two.
Good,
and we just
good way.
Evaluate amount in euro. And amount in euro is half a second. That's a piece of information. We just store it somewhere. Then we look at amount in USD. That's 20 milliseconds. We don't waste our time with amount in USD because it's clear that the problem is not there. And then we have open orders. That should be 1/2 seconds if math is not wrong. So we have 1/2 seconds for this measure and half a second here. We need to choose one of the two. Common sense would dictate us that we start with open orders, which is the worst one, but it's going to be harder to optimize. So we start with amount in euro, and we save open orders for later. Besides, now that we have a measure, we don't need this filter. It's useless to have it. And we can use year, month, and month number. We actually don't need also the month name, so the query will be a bit simpler. Let's kill this. So now we have a very simple query, and we can start playing around with that. So I run it, and again, that should take around 1.5 seconds. No, 2.6 seconds, much slower than before, because I removed the filter. So it looks like the query is somewhat sensible to filters, which is very bad, because typically the speed of a measure should not depend so much on how much you filter. If it is, it's because the code is not optimal. And that we know already. I mean, that's a demo, so the code, of course, will not be optimal. So what next?
Now we can evaluate your DAX query.
Come on, that's pretty simple. But what is the next thing to do? The query has nothing strange in that. But what the hell is amount in euro? We know it's a measure. What is it computing? We have no idea. So we have a couple of options to check it. One is
modeling
here, amount in euro, and look at the query. Look at the code of the measure here. But it's basically a waste of time. I don't mean that this editor sucks, but this editor really sucks. There are much better ways to look at the code. Because we know that the problem is amount in euro, we want to look at the code of amount in euro, and then we will want to modify amount in euro a few times until we have a good understanding, a better performance. So we can go here, search for amount in euro, right-click and click on Define Measure. That adds the definition of the measure to the query. You see, it adds Define Measure amount in euro here. The code is entirely here. And if I now run this query, it will use this definition of amount in euro instead of the definition in the model. That gives me the option of changing my code whatever I want, to do whatever I like in the measure, and measure performance again and again until I'm satisfied and I'm happy with performance. Now, this code is not trivial. So we need to spend some time understanding what it does. And because I don't want you to spend time understanding the logic of the model, I'll give you some help. Amount in euro computes the amount in euro. All the values are stored in this data model in US dollars, so we need to do the conversion on the fly. And to do that, we iterate over orders, we compute the amount in US dollars, and then we need to compute the exchange rate. Now, the exchange rate comes from the average, from the exchange rates table, and we can take a quick look at the model again. Exchange rates is here. Orders is here, so we iterate over the orders table, but we need to grab the exchange rates that depends on the currency and on the date.
Yeah.
So given one date and one currency, I can find the exchange rate. We know the currency will be euro, that is fixed in the code. The date depends on the individual order I'm scanning. Make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. So what is my measure doing? Well, it's saying I search for the exchange rate where the date is, and we have this complex expression. Again, this has to do with the business logic. The exchange rate does not have a date, an exchange rate for every day. The developer was lazy and decided that one exchange rate a month is more than enough. So we have the exchange rate only on the first day of the month. And whatever happened in the month, we use the same exchange rate. So this is taking the order date, extracting the year, the month, go to the first of the month, and say, give me the average rate where the date is the first of the current month, and the currency key is the value of the currency key for euro. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Say yes.
Yes. Yes.
Now, what if this exchange rate does not exist? Well, if it does not exist, it computes the average exchange rate over all time. Because not having any kind of data, it decides, well, if I have a value, I use it, but if I don't have a value, I take the average over all time of the exchange rate to euro. So I have this lookup value here, which is repeated the same here, because the first time I check it for blank and the second time I use it to grab the value. And this entire expression is multiplied by the amount in US dollar, iterating over orders. Okay. You know what I'm asking next? What next? What should we start? Where do we start to try to optimize this code? Where is the culprit, or what are the steps? What are the clear point which are bad here?
I think one of the bad points is that all date on the calculate, we may change the all date to an all of a column, not for all the table date.
Okay, so you see all date this way.
Or date, yeah, maybe.
Okay. That's interesting. So remember, we start from 2.6. This is our enemy. We make that tiny change, and it goes to 2.8. that didn't look like very interesting. But look at that. We have lookup value here, and we have lookup value here. Yeah. They are the very same piece of code. Mm-hmm. So why computing it twice if we can compute it only once?
Yeah, usable. Yeah.
We can use
we can use variable.
Okay. So how do we call that? Exchange rate. We take all this.
I don't see the lookup in the bottom.
You don't see what?
The another lookup that they the same lookup.
Yeah, they are the same. So now we can use return, and this become exchange rate, and this becomes again exchange rate. Okay. If I did everything correctly, now I'm computing this lookup value only once, and that should be better. Let's format the code, run it. The best before was 2.6 seconds, and now we're 2.3 seconds. That didn't change a lot. Yeah, we saved something, but not really a lot. Anyway, this stuff of variable looks promising, so I could do the same here. Look at that. This calculator does not depend on time. We have all date here. So we are computing this average every time for every order, but that doesn't seem very smart. We could compute it actually outside of everything, because it does not depend on anything at all. So we can define another variable outside of everything. Let's call it average rate. We take all this stuff, store it in a variable. We need another return, and then we use average rate. I format the code again. Now I compute the average rate outside of everything, and I just use the value here. Besides, you see, using variables, the code starts to be much more reasonable to read.
Yeah.
2.3. Will we do any better than that? Not at all. Which basically means that the optimizer was not that stupid. He figured out that that calculation did not depend on data and on orders, and the reason is this all data. The presence of all date here helps it understand that it was pointless to compute this value out inside the iteration. Now it's harder, because before the code looked really bad. Now it doesn't look so bad. Still, there is something really weird happening. which means it's time to dig a bit deeper. It's time to understand what is the meaning of all the numbers that you see here and what is happening behind the scenes. The core, the most important part to understand whenever you optimize DAX code is the separation between the formula engine and the storage engine. I guess you heard this term a ton of times. And there's a video actually that Marco prepared a few days ago about what is the storage engine, what are storage engine and formula engine. Maybe it's worth look at that. But basically, there are these two engines. The storage engine is the one that grabs information from a database, and it's the only engine that can actually read data from the database. The formula engine is the one that does the calculation. Any kind of calculation is performed by the formula engine, apart from very simple ones like multiplication, division, sum. Simple, very, very simple calculation can be carried on by storage engine, but anything more complex than that requires formula engine. And the two engines, they communicate through one thing, which is called the data cache. A data cache is the result of a storage engine query, which is sent to formula engine to do further calculation. Now, data caches are visible here. When you look at this panel, the query part is the query executed by storage engine that generates a data cache. In this case, the data cache contains 1.6 million rows. It's 15,000 kilobytes, and it took half a second to run this query. The content of this data cache is 1.6 million rows, and the query that generated this data cache is this one, that retrieves quantity, customer key, order number, sales amount, order date, delivery date, sales amount, and sales. Now, if you look at these columns, quantity, customer key, order number, sales amount, where do we use order number? We have year, month number, values, but we don't use the order number at all. We don't use the delivery date. We don't use quantity. There are a lot of columns that we are not using at all, but still they are requested from the data model. So for whatever reason, the engine is retrieving all the columns from the orders table. It looks like all the columns. I'm not sure, but we can look at that. Orders, where are you, orders? Oh, here you are, in front of my eyes. Yeah, these are all the columns of the orders table. So we were lucky that there are only 6 columns, but if those were 1,000 columns, we would have 1,000 columns retrieved for some strange reason. And also the number of rows is kind of fancy because it's 1.6 million rows. Do you remember where we saw 1.6 million?
It's all the data.
Yeah, it's the entire table.
Yeah, sometimes.
So this query, for whatever reason, is asking to storage engine to retrieve the entire table and send the entire table to the formula engine, which is kind of idiot. Why is it querying columns that are not needed, and why is it materializing the entire table? And we are lucky because we have only 1.6 million rows. If these were 100 billion, that would be a nightmare. It would take forever to run the query. So that is the interesting question for you now. What is this piece of information telling us? Be creative. I don't pretend that you know. Just be creative.
The people, someone that say that you can create a variable table to solve this.
Why a variable containing a table? Yeah, but first we need to understand where the problem is. This is important. A lot of people try to optimize code just by adding calculate here and there or messing around. That doesn't help. It's like when you go to the doctor. You don't expect the doctor to start trying on you. You expect the doctor to ask you exactly how you feel and then give you some medicine to help you. Here, the scenario is the same. First, we need to understand the problem. Once we understand the problem, fixing it is a matter of really 2 characters to remove, and that's it. But first, we need to understand why the hell DAX is materializing the entire fact table. We are not using it here.
Maybe in the lookup, we can change the lookup.
Maybe, but actually we are doing something that is really, really bad. And it's not even hidden. It's a very common practice, but a lot of people do that all the time. Look at that.
Because the sun X.
The SumX is not bad by itself, but the problem is in SumX. SumX is iterating over orders.
Yeah,
Then it's
you can change the orders in the first argument of some X.
So what would you do? Compute the exchange rate first? No, you can't.
You can compute by date.
That's an option. But actually, there is a very small change that is going to change our life. That is iterating over orders. How many rows will it find? We know that, 1.6 million.
1.6 million, yeah. And if
1.6
you use all the table orders in the first argument of some X, you are calling all the table and with all the columns.
But why? Why do we need all the columns? I'm not using all the columns. I'm calling the measure amount USD here, and amount in USD is doing, let me check it. Let's add the definition of amount in USD.
It's just a sum.
It's just computing the sum of amount. So it's using only the amount column. And this is checking whether this column is empty or not. So why do I have the order number? The problem is here. During the iteration of orders, I'm calling amount in USD. And this is a measure. Being a measure, it is automatically surrounded by calculator. That is always there. There's nothing you can do. You call a measure, calculate is there.
Yeah.
What does calculate do? Calculate says, hey, you want to compute the sum of orders amount for all the rows that are identical to the current row I'm iterating over orders. So this calculate is applying a filter to the orders table, filtering all the rows which are identical to the current one, and compute the sum of amount. It is needed to have a filter for all the identical rows, because that's the only way calculate can find the current row and put that in the filter context. So this calculate is actually applying a filter on all the columns of the orders table. And it's been called 1.6 million times, every time to filter only one row and call this sum of orders amount. Moreover, sum of orders amount, when you have only one row, it's the same as amount. There are no differences between sum of orders amount or orders amount for one row.
If you are using some X, you are iterating line by line in the table. Yeah.
So I can just take this orders amount, get rid of this part, and use orders amount. That's what I want to do. We get rid of calculator, and we just take the value of the column I'm currently iterating over orders. Make sense?
Yeah.
I forgot to tell you that we always need to clear the cache before running the query, but luckily I already have cleared the cache and run, so we can just run the query and the cache will be cleared automatically. It was 2.3 seconds. Now it's 10 times faster, definitely better. Not only it is better in terms of speed, because this indication tell me that this is faster. Faster is always good. But more relevant, you see that I no longer scan 1.6 million rows. I only retrieve 277,000 rows, which is way smaller than earlier. And the columns I'm retrieving are only the ones that are actually needed. The amount, the order date, the year, and the month number. I no longer retrieve the order number. I no longer retrieve all the columns that are not useful for this query. I just grab what I need, which for a columnar database is extremely important, because that retrieves only the columns which are actually useful to run the query. So it's going to be super fast. Still we can do something better than that, because 277,000 rows materialized is still not the best we can obtain. What can we change here to make it even faster than that? Again, just be creative, throw ideas. That's
I'm
not the
thinking.
test.
I'm thinking. I'm thinking. What can we make to make it better? If it's blank rate, average rate. I think that we can adjust in this if I don't know if it's blank. I think that we can change the if not it's blank, we can have many rows.
You see,
I
Raphael, you're
don't
the only
know.
one talking. All the other guys are just there silent, not helping you at all.
Yeah, they are not my friend now. For now, they are not my friends.
I mean, things happen. Look at this
Um,
sum x. I'm iterating over orders. So how many
yeah.
iterations will happen?
2007.
How many rows? Yeah.
Orders, we have, 2077 because the engine was smart enough to understand that it does not depend on anything, on all of the possible values. You see that even though orders contains 1.6 million rows, the engine was smart enough to understand that you don't need to retrieve all of the rows because this measure depends on the amount, the order date, the year, the month number, and that's it. It does not depend on anything else. So it retrieved from from the entire table only the distinct values of these, and for each it also grabbed the number of rows with that value. Because with that information, it was able to compute the result without having to materialize the entire table. But we know better than the engine. We know that there is only, even though we are iterating over all the orders, this measure depends on the exchange rate, and the exchange rate is not present for every individual data, not to mention for any order. It's present only once a month, because that's the way my model has been created. So why iterating over all the orders when I can iterate over the months? For each month, I just compute the total amount for that month, and I grab the exchange rate of that month. Make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, I said that. I said that we can change the first argument of some x. I said that some minutes ago.
So, since you say that, what should I do? Drive me.
Yeah, we can just use dates, the calendar table.
Oh, iterate over the date. That's interesting. Yep.
And now we need to change the return and use the sum of orders and month.
Date is at the day level. We can go farther than that. We can go at the month level.
Yeah, month level, yeah.
So?
Year month column.
I can't.
Values. You can use values. No, you can use values. Values of month.
Okay. Now I'm learning. Values is values.
Values. Yeah.
I need to read that. You can use values of month. Okay. I'm learning the Portuguese accent.
I'm learning.
Okay, so now I'm iterating over the year month. I need to change something here.
Yeah, sum of others. Others and month, we need to change to sum. Just sum. We need to use calculate now.
Okay. Now we can use calculate. We have the amount in USD. Because we still have context transition, but now it's running on a much smaller table, so that's not a big deal.
Yeah.
And this exchange rate depends on the order.
Yeah, we need to change that.
We need to change that, and
two dates, date order or date, yeah.
But I can't because I'm iterating over the year month. I don't have the data available.
Year, you can use year, date. You can use exchange date. You are doing date. You just need date. You don't need that date, year, month, and one. You just year month.
No, I can't. That
No,
would be
year
terrible.
month. I don't know what year month is.
Oh, you want date here?
No.
Okay.
Year month.
Year month contains. It's an integer. It contains.
I don't
Year.
know the definition
Yeah.
of
I'll show it
that
to you.
column. Year
This is year
month.
month.
Okay. Show me the other columns. Year month. You can use the. Okay, go back. Go back to that. You can use on this argument date, year, date, use the mean of mean, the DAX mean. No, not here, not here.
Not here, where?
In the exchange, in the lookup, exchange average rate,
Okay.
date, change all the dates, all this line, yeah.
Okay.
Mean the date.
This way.
Yeah, but
Okay.
now you can use that. Yeah, it will return all the first day in the month.
Yeah, that is pretty smart. It's not going to work, but it's smart. Let's see. First of all, let's see the result, which is totally cool. Now it's 26 milliseconds.
Yeah,
Which is...
but
but we have a problem with the results. This amount in euro, let's call it amount in euro 2. So we use amount in euro 2. Okay. The first one is the original one, and this is the one we're modifying.
Okay.
It's always a good practice that of testing that we are not making damage.
Good.
And my guess is that the number will be different.
Yeah.
You see that amount in euro and amount in euro 2, now the numbers are different. So we did some damage here. Actually, you did some damage here.
Yeah. In the mean date.
Yeah, this is the cool point. The
Maybe.
mean date is being executed during the iteration over the year month. We do have a row context over year month, but the filter context is still the original one.
Yeah.
So that should be a calculate mean of data in order to be the minimum in the current filter context. And that should be the only change. If it doesn't work now, we are in trouble. Actually, we are.
Yeah. We are in trouble.
Yeah, mean day date iterating over the values of date year month. I'm iterating over year month.
Why this is not working?
Oh, I don't know. That always happens. I mean, when you start playing with the code and you do changes live, you never know what is going to happen. It can also be that amount in euro originally was wrong because calling a measure that was a problem. So to me, it's likely 56 is more correct. But I don't know if this is actually always the first of the month. It should be because the minimum date iterating over the
But
year
it
month.
cannot be. It cannot be. We never.
Yeah, we always have the first of the month.
Maybe, but if you use the date again, and use the number 1 to the last date.
Let
use
me
the
use
same.
summarize orders by date, year, month. That is not going to change anything. Indeed.
No. I think that the problem is the mean argument.
No, because
No.
that would be... No, I'm guessing, as I said, that's the first time I tried this kind of code, so I have no idea. But my guess is that amount in euro is wrong.
Amount year.
Yes, I'm just guessing. I don't know. I added amount in euro again. And we use orders. We avoid context transition. No, it was actually correct. No. So we made some mistakes somewhere else. Year, month, 1. Okay. That means we need to fix it. Average rate, currency code, all data. Look at value exchange rate, where the date is the minimum date and the currency key is the value of euro. Take the amount and CD times. Maybe I'm not completely idiot. If it's blank, the average rate, otherwise the exchange rate. It was the opposite earlier.
Yeah.
Okay. That's working correctly. So that was
the definition of the if.
Exactly. We can get rid of this stuff. Now we have the measure that computes the correct value. And let me check that I didn't say anything stupid.
I think with mean it will work.
No, it should not.
It worked.
It should not. If it works, we have a serious problem. Oh no, it works.
It's working. We are evaluation by date.
Exactly. Look what happens at the total if I get rid of the grouping by month. What's gonna happen now?
By month. Okay, and now we will have some problems. We need to change the argument of summarize.
No, because
to date here.
No, the problem is the summarize column, the outer summarize column was doing a grouping by month number.
Yeah.
So actually, this iteration over the year month was happening only once for the only month you were iterating.
Yeah.
And mean would compute the correct value because it was inside the month. But if instead of grouping by month, you group
get
only by
January
year,
1st.
At that point, this sum x iterates 12 times. And for 12 times, this computes the minimum of the year. So now the two numbers should be correct, should be different. Indeed, they are.
Yeah, because we are only interacting by year, so you get only January 1st instead of every first day of month.
No, it's actually easier.
No.
You need that calculator here. Because that calculate says I want the minimum data in the current month. I take the row context on the year month. I move it to a filter context. So that mean will be the minimum in that specific year month, regardless of how the outer filter context has been created. So running it this way, that should compute the correct number. And now you see the two numbers are identical.
Yeah.
So that calculate is needed. By chance, we were lucky because iterating over
with a month number, yeah.
But if we get now, we add it again. Otherwise, we don't have the numbers correct. Okay, and that is
we
good
need to calculate to make the transition of the filter. Yeah.
Now we are back to 3 seconds because we still have amount in euro. We can get rid of that. Okay. And we have our calculation, which is now much better. First of all, you see that I only have 36 rows here, which is super cool. Yeah. We started with 1.6 million. It was dependent on the size of the table. Now it's dependent on the number of months, which is way better. The data cache is very small. This is probably the exchange rate. I don't know, year, month number. No, this is extracting year and month number, but it's still tiny. All the other data caches are really small, and the query runs super fast. Good. So what are the useful points here? Well, first of all, using DAX Studio, you start to grab information about the query. We did everything in DAX Studio. We didn't even open Power BI. just because Text Studio is so cool. Whenever you want to optimize, it's your best friend. Then the real culprit was context transition if you use that during the iteration over the entire table. It's not that context transition by itself is bad. It's not a villain. The problem is iterating over large table and performing context transition. But if we do that on a table with 36 rows, that's totally fine. We can use context transition exactly as we are doing here, and we obtain our measure that works. Now that we have it, we can go back to Power BI and solve this one. Now, all this horrible measure becomes a much better code. And that's it. The first step is done.
The first one.
We have a second.
We have another, yeah.
Because we had two measures actually. Yeah. Let's get rid of all these. Actually, the second is simpler. It was open orders, and the measure was open orders. Let's go ahead. First, we want the baseline. I don't remember, that was a half a second or something like that.
Yeah. Now it's... No, I think that was some problem. 10 seconds.
Yeah, now it's
right.
10 seconds. This is really bad. Because...
Really bad.
Okay, let me see. Oh, before there was a filter, which I completely lost. Let me start again. I'm just curious. I mean, what I really love about this session is that every time I do that, I discover something new. So,
with the filters, they lost all the reference and becomes
there was a filter here. This management.
Lazy. Yeah.
Let's add the filter again. Because I remember it was much faster than that.
Yeah.
10 seconds. Yeah, now it's more reasonable, 1.6 seconds. So also this measure is strongly dependent on the filter. We know there is something bad. Let's keep the filter because I don't want to wait 10 seconds every time we run it. So, what
Let's
next?
define the measure.
We have open orders. Let's format it and make it a bit shorter. Okay, what is open orders doing? Again, I'll give you a bit of background. Open orders is computing for every day, for every whatever period you select, the number of orders which are open in that period. Now, an order is open when start to be open when you order it, and is closed when you deliver it. So, given a period, a slide might help in understanding what I mean by that. Where is my slide? Okay. You have a selection of October. You have an order that starts and ends before the beginning of October. That is not to be counted. An order that starts before and ends in the middle, that is open during October. If it starts in October and ends later, again, that is open. This starts later and that is closed. This is kind of borderline. You never know how to consider that. It is open or closed. I would like to consider it open because during October, this order was open at some point. So once you have an idea of what is an open order or what is the condition of an open order, you can easily find on the web the easiest way to compute it is all the orders that started before the end and were not finished at the beginning. Okay, so it started before the end, like this one, or this one, and it was not finished before the beginning. So this is finished before the beginning, so it's closed. This is not finished before the beginning, so at some point during October it was open. And this translates in DAX in this condition. Give me the minimum and maximum dates from the selection. We know we are iterating the year-month number.
Yeah.
So grab the start and the end, and then give me count the orders where the order date is before the end, and the delivery date is after the start. These are the orders that at some point are open. This all data is needed to get rid of the filter from the data, because we no longer want the data to filter orders. We are retrieving orders which have been placed at any point in time, also before the current selection. So the code now it's much easier. We have no context transition, we have no problems, we don't have bad code, but still it's very slow.
We can use in the filter argument all the table orders, we can use a smaller columns or to make that.
Okay, like what?
Like filter, you can use filter let's see if something like values not, I don't think, no, values will not work. Values we need on order date and deliver date. I think that we can takes only this choose two columns, order date and deliver date.
Okay, so what should I write here? Something like all order date and orders delivery date. This way.
Yeah, but this will not work.
Why not?
We use cube filters. Not? No,
Keep filters around it.
not.
That would not be
No,
needed, because this
no,
all
no.
date is gonna
No,
get
no,
rid of
no,
any filter
no.
anyway.
No, yeah. Filter all date, all selected, still all. We can reduce. I don't know.
I
think
have an
that
idea
will
where we are
not
going. So
No.
let's first see that we do not do any kind of damage.
I love it this way to make to keep the
Yeah, to see the
that
numbers.
we compare the numbers. I like it.
Okay, let's see what happens.
Let's
It's not gonna faster because we are computing both measures, but first we need to look at the numbers, and
yeah,
we have a problem
not
here.
Good. Yeah, a very big problem.
Because this is not returning all the orders. This is returning all the
All the-
distinct combinations of date and delivery date. So all the orders with the same pair of colors will be collapsed to only one.
Yeah.
So it's not a bad technique what you are going towards, but we need to change it.
Guide us, please.
Well, since you brought this idea, we just finish it. As I said, this is not retrieving the orders. It's retrieving the distinct combinations of date and delivery date.
Yeah.
So 100 orders with the same combination will count only one. And that is the
We
problem.
can insert então orders.
We can add a new column, which is the number of orders, which is calculate count rows of orders. So now this table contains the combination, but for each combination I also know how many orders are there.
Yeah.
And this count rows becomes a sum x
Some x.
that computes the sum of the number of orders. Doing it this way, now the two numbers should be the same.
The same.
Because now I'm computing the number of orders correctly. I have no idea whether this is going to be fast or not. It looks good, that's why I wanted to finish it. Yeah, you can immediately see just by how quick it is. It's 84 milliseconds, so it's pretty cool. But you need to compute, you can reduce the cardinality by reducing the iteration executed, but you need to take into account that you need to count the number of orders, otherwise that wouldn't work. And it's a good solution. I'm just wondering whether you can make it a bit better. Yeah, probably you can simply take all these, move it here, and get rid of add columns. This is the same code, it's just a bit shorter.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually slower, no? This solution was the best one. It computes everything and then sums the orders. Okay, 78 milliseconds, it's pretty good. Actually, there is a simpler way to...
But we have two calls to 6.6. We can reduce that to have only one call.
Oh, that depends on what they do. I don't know that. Let me see. This doesn't go smaller than that. Okay, this is retrieving order date, delivery date, and count star, and this is retrieving only order date and delivery date. No, this is actually...
No.
There's not much that you can do here, but anyway, we are talking about a bunch of milliseconds. There are no... I don't see easy ways, because these are probably needed to compute this min and max, which are needed, by the way. But anyway, this is very good, meaning that I like this solution, and it's probably the best way to optimize this piece of code. If we go back to the previous code, this is recorded so we can kill everything. No, it was there, open orders. You can actually make it simpler getting rid of the iteration at all, because you have the start period and the end period. You have a condition of an order date and another condition of an order date. Now, these two conditions need to work together on the orders table, but using a filter with end is not the best way of doing it. The best way you can do that is to do a count rows of orders, and you just apply the condition to one column and to the other column. That says, give me all the orders where the date is less than the end period, the delivery date is greater than the starting period, get rid of any filter from the data. This code is old, now we use remove filters. That should run. I don't think it's going to be faster. Well, it doesn't run at all. Oh, that is open orders too. Okay. You see, it's nearly the same as your solution, but it's actually simpler. It just relies on the fact that there is no point in iterating over an entire table if what you want to do is apply filter on two different columns. Expressing that with calculate provides already very good performance without having to worry about anything else. It just works as it is. This measure could be optimized further, but that would require changing the model, creating snapshots, and going much deeper. So that was useful up to 1.5 years ago. As of today, this is likely to be already the best solution to compute the open orders because it works fine. and it doesn't use a lot of storage, a lot of formula engine. It's just pretty good. So now we can take this this code, go to Power BI, where are you, and fix it.
We have something like lower than 100 milliseconds. It can go away. Let it be.
Yeah, but I mean, keep in mind that the clock that is used to measure these values has a granularity of around 16 milliseconds. So between 16 milliseconds and 30 milliseconds, they are actually the same number. There are no difference. Less than 100 milliseconds, you don't even look at that number. There's really few things that you can do there. If you start to worry about milliseconds, then at that point you no longer worry about milliseconds. You are more worried about how much storage engine and how much formula engine you are using, trying to push everything to storage engine to improve the cache and provide a better user experience when you are in a multi-user environment with a lot of different users. But that's what I always tell to most of my students. Optimizing at the best at the top is something that we only do when we write books or when we really have a serious problem to solve. Otherwise, you optimize up to the point when you are happy. If a user says, that's good, that's what I wanted, there's no point in going farther than that. Apart if you strive for perfection, but there's no need to do that. Either you teach because that's your job, or you are studying, but going from 200 milliseconds to 150 milliseconds, if it takes you 2 days to solve it, that's a waste of time.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't think it's worth looking at the further detail, because going deeper requires changing the model, and it's probably not useful at all. So I would stop it here, because it would be pointless to go further than that. As I say, the main takeaway is test, be creative, don't be scared of trying different techniques. And also, if you can afford to do that, to me, optimizing is so much cooler done together. So sessions like the one we did together now, where one throws an idea and we say, yeah, let's do that, let's try together. It's so much more fun than when you are alone.
I really like the experience. I'm very happy. Now our page loading in how many milliseconds?
Sorry, say it again. Oh, the page. That I don't know.
Yeah, the page. How many milliseconds? Page. Just to show to our audience.
Yeah. I'm curious too. Let's run performance analyzer, start recording, refresh the visuals.
Less than
okay. It is not that bad, but again, the important detail is this time, because there is nothing you can do to improve this number.
Yeah.
So this is 7 milliseconds, 50 milliseconds, 4 milliseconds, 23 milliseconds, and 14 milliseconds. There's no way you can go farther than that, because 247 milliseconds, that's the time needed to build the visual. You have no control over that. And this number then now becomes significant. So now the largest number is this one. There's nothing you can do. If you want to reduce that number, the only option is reduce the number of visuals, because Power BI builds basically a queue of all the visuals and then start sending queries. There is some degree of parallelism, but it's very limited. So once you have already 5 visuals, some of them will have to wait. And if you build a report that has 200 visuals, that is going to take forever. And no matter how hard you work on DAX, it will never be better. That's why things like small multiples are super important, because small multiples is not important only because you'll waste less time building the visual. It's much more relevant because instead of running 10 queries, you run one query, you grab the result, and then you execute. You build the visual. While you're building the visual, the engine might be running other queries, and that the overall experience will be way, way better than that.
Yeah. Another exercise that I use is when I have a page with very slow, and then I see a huge number of users on this page. I say to my client, let's take one of that visuals and just run that visual on another blank page. You see that the time of the render of the visual will be very, very, very slower, and we have a big problem in the Microsoft documentation. We have se me ajuda, a recommendation to seven to 10 visuals in the page. It's a recommendation documentation of Power BI. 7 to 10.
I don't know if I ever saw a report containing 7 visuals. That's probably the slicers, and then you start having numbers.
Yeah, we usually see a page with 20, 13 visuals, and it will take some time to render. It's a problem.
Alberto,
Yep.
I have a question. It's something like a personal question. So, as you are seeing DAX before launch, do you think DAX will keep evolving new keys functions or just more syntax sugars?
Well, I honestly hope that DAX is going to evolve. Meaning that, it is evolving. There are a lot of features, really tons of features that developers are working on. They go in different directions. So we're not speaking just about the language. But if you think about calculation groups, they have been recently introduced, and they are a huge improvement in terms of expressivity of the language. There are a lot of small features that I would really love to see, like measures returning tables, that I would love to see a feature like that, and it's not there yet. Or other functionalities to navigate through hierarchies better, to have visual calculations. So there is a lot of space where DAX can improve, and I'm pretty sure it will improve. What is really hard from an engineer point of view is understanding how more complex the language becomes when you add new features. Think about calculation groups. They are awesome. I honestly love them because they are so powerful, but they increase the level of complexity of the language by a lot. So adding features means having a more powerful language. More powerful also means more complex. And finding the correct balance between complexity and power is what really struggle the engineers at Microsoft. So it's hard to tell you exactly how it will evolve. My hope is that the more experienced developers we have with DAX, the more demand for advanced feature will rise, and so the language will become more powerful and better. It's not just a matter of adding 1 or 2 functions. There are really details in the language that need to be improved. For example, DAX is the only functional language that I know on the planet where you cannot define a function. And it would be beautiful to be able to define a piece of DAX code as a function with parameters that you can call in order to avoid repeating the same code again and again. That feature is not in the language. And I'm pushing to have the feature, but I also know that adding these features increases the complexity. And I don't know about your experience, but DAX is already complex enough as it is. People never complain about that, the language being not powerful enough, but they complain about the language being too hard to learn.
It's a question about that. We think we'll be able to make custom functions in DAX.
I mean, as I say, that it's a functional language, so defining a function should be there. It's what a functional language exists for. But again, that would mean increasing the complexity. So to me, there are features which are really missing. Definition of functions, functions that can return tables, like measures that can return tables. That to me would be a huge improvement in simplifying the code and making DAX a better language. Not to mention an editor, but that has nothing to do with the language, it's just the UI. Yes, these are the kind of features that to me are important.
Maybe in 2021.
Who knows? I mean, the developers
Who
are
knows?
saying
Who
at
knows?
home right now, so
We have another question here.
yeah.
Alberto, did you ever get any of Russo's DAX puzzles wrong?
I'm kind of biased here, as I think everybody else, because as soon as you see a DAX puzzle, you know that there is a trick somewhere. So you don't treat that code as any other piece of DAX code. So you can split the question in two parts. If I see one of Marco's puzzle, and actually I wrote some of them with him, but if I see that code and you ask me, will you be able to read it and give the answer immediately? The answer is no. I would be in trouble as anybody else, and I will provide you the wrong answer. Of course, if I see it coming as a puzzle, then I know there is a trick. That means I need to study it a bit more. Then no, I know the answer. But what typically happens with this puzzle is that we find pieces of code, customers or writing them. And so I just send an email to Marco, say, hey, look at that code. Do you know the answer? And if it takes more than a few minutes to provide the answer, then that becomes a DAX puzzle because it's interesting. And what I think is that actually DAX puzzles are a very nice way of learning.
Yeah.
They show you small details one at a time where you are in trouble.
That's good. We have another question. Do you think we will be able to run C# inside Power BI someday?
That's kind of unlikely. I mean, only Microsoft knows the answer. Not a lot, but some of the code that is running right now inside the engine could have been written in C# using specific interfaces, but you cannot let users define C# functions and publish them on the cloud. Keep in mind that whatever you write as a user will be pushed in the cloud service and executed inside the cloud. So opening it to any piece of C# code is definitely too dangerous. You are giving a tremendous power to users, but you're also giving a tremendous power to hackers and malicious users or users that simply do not know what they are doing, and they create bad C# code that kills an instance who is running thousands of users just because a piece of C# code is wrong. So it's technically feasible. I think it's very unlikely that it's going to happen in the near future. We had that option in analysis services on-prem with store procedures. Honestly, really few people use the store procedures on analysis services, and beside there, it was analysis services on-prem. So you could do any kind of damage. It was your server. You could crash it without having to worry about anybody else. Today, whatever feature you provide, you need to think about the cloud, and you cannot let users do whatever they want on the cloud.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a personal question for you.
Yeah?
Because we see a lot of dashboards on LinkedIn, people sharing, and a lot of people like to use that collapsible menu using bookmarks.
Yeah.
And they had to change the visibility using bookmarks, and they have a lot of work to create that and to maintain that because you have a lot of hidden visuals.
Yeah.
And honestly, I prefer to use the built-in collapsible filter of Power BI because you can have filter the visual, filter the page, filter all the pages. I think it's way better You have more control. It's easier. It's faster. You don't have anything to maintain. But a lot of people like that. A lot of people almost have pride to do that using animations and cool effects and that kind of thing. But what's your opinion about that?
Well, I think it's really a matter of how you feel about building a report. To me, building a nice report with all the colors and all the lines designed the right way is it's very close to death. I can do a lot of DAX code, but if you ask me to build a nice looking report, I just go away. That's not my job. So because my attitude against the report is I want to get the job done and that's it. I'm not interested at all. You need to be looking cool. Of course, I use the filter panel because that gets the job done and it's much easier to use. When you give it to users, that's a different thing. Users might want to have the color that way, might want to have the size of that font on specific sides, might want to interact with it in a different way. So it's more a matter of looking good against just working. As a developer, I use the filter panel. I never use slicers, but again, because I'm not interested in building a report. When I look at people using bookmarks all the time, their report look really nice. But when I think about the time it took them to build them, it's a nightmare. But it was the same at the beginning of the web. If you looked at how web pages and web sites were built at the very beginning, we didn't have all the power that is available today. So if you wanted to have 10 different pages with a menu on the top, you had to write 10 different pages, all identical, because HTML let you jump from one page to another, but not change the content of the current page. Luckily, we evolved over time. So I think Power BI right now is missing interactivity between visuals, like the option of hiding parts of the code without using bookmarks. Bookmarks are a trick. They are not a real feature to build a user interface. Power BI is a nice reporting tool, but it lacks interactivity. I don't know if anything is going to happen, but I think we are just at the beginning. Business intelligence is going to grow, and I would not be surprised if Power BI gains some sort of interactivity that does not rely on bookmarks, but instead relies on some language or code that let you change the way the report is shown.
Okay. Good. We have two more questions just to finish.
Yep.
Do you think we will have a way to do a DAX query in a data flow?
I'm thinking you cannot do that right now. You cannot run the DAX code inside
right
data
now,
flow
no.
running against analysis services. Yeah, I'm wondering why that. I don't see any specific reason why that shouldn't work. It's an analysis services engine, so you could run a query and get some result. So unless there is any technical problem that I'm not aware of, I don't see why it shouldn't work. Even though it's likely not to be super useful, because what you would be doing is running ETL on top of a model that already contains a tabular model, and for that it's like composite models are going to help more. So the entire idea of loading from a tabular model to do ETL is likely to be superseded by composite models, where you can just connect to that model, grab the data you want, and run queries instead of running ETL. So it could be done, but I suspect that in a matter of a couple of months, you will no longer feel the need for that.
Okay. That's the last question. Do you know any tool that gives us the measure dependence, highlighting the calculate modifiers in each one?
No.
A problem to be solved with DAX Studio. Maybe
Yeah, no,
in a future version of DAX Studio.
No, DAX Studio is not going to help you with that. Tabular Editor gives you the list of dependencies, that the measure that you depend from, and the measure that depends on a simple whatever piece of code you want. Highlighting the calculate modifier, I wonder why you're interested in that. But no, I think it's, I mean, the measure dependency, that is easy to grasp. I'm looking at DAX Studio because I don't remember, but DAX Studio has the measure dependencies. Let me see. Yeah, no, it just runs a DAX query, so it's not going to help you. Tabular Editor is able to help you with that, so it shows you the measure that a measure depends on, or that depends to the measure. It's not showing the calculate modifiers, but I wonder why you are interested in the modifiers used there.
Ok.
Maybe we get an answer.
Ok, Disseu. Vamos terminar então hoje? Já são 11h49. Então, agradecendo a todo mundo que ficou aqui com a gente até agora, quase 2 horas de live. O Rui tá pra se matar agora aqui. O Rui tá nervoso, olhando pro relógio o tempo todo.
Nada, se quiser ficar 5 horas aí, pode ficar, cara, tá tranquilo.
Seu,
o Alberto tem licença,
o Alberto tem licença pra fazer aqui quantas horas ele quiser. Alberto, I was joking with Rui that our live taking more than 1 hour. He's afraid that's more than 1 hour. But I really appreciate your time, your patience with me, to my mistakes with talks. Thanks for all this class was a great class. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it was more, as I said at the beginning, having fun together. So let's take some dice gold and let's have fun together. That's it.
We have some fun time together. Seu, muito obrigado. Dá uma boa noite aí pro pessoal. Boa noite, não, bom dia. Ainda tô de noite, cara.
Fala, pessoal, obrigado aí pela presença de vocês. Queria desejar um ótimo dia para vocês aí, um ótimo fim de semana. Acho que todo mundo aqui aproveitou pra caramba a presença do Alberto. É um cara que é um dos maiores referências em DAX do mundo, acho que é inquestionável. Ele e o Marco são provavelmente as 2 maiores referências que a gente tem hoje. E foi uma aula gratuita hoje de como fazer um troubleshooting de performance numa medida DAX. Algo que, assim, eu nunca tinha visto isso em lugar nenhum sem ser no curso. Então, cara, eu achei assim, caraca, velho, eu não sei nada de DAX mesmo, vendo o Alberto falando.
Se quiser, pode traduzir para ele aí.
Yeah, Alberto was just say thank you everyone for attending the session, and it was a great session, a great course. Everybody here was just like students, and I was thinking, oh my god, I don't know anything about DAX after the session. So it was a great session. Yeah, you and Marco, you have excellent work. You are probably the 2 best guys from DAX that I know, at least. And it's an honor to have you here in our YouTube channel. It was a great pleasure, and I have sure that everybody here is very amazed about how you know DAX and how you can make very complex DAX, make very simple to try to understand your thinking of how you can turn the DAX queries, and it was great. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Lo.
Thank you, Alberto. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you, guys, and have a good day.
I'm a fan of your work. Have a good day. And how do you say in Italian? Una grande class.
They don't know anything in Italian. It's Spanish. It's Spanish, not Italian.
Na grande classe.
That sounds good.
Thank you so much. Thank you again. É isso, pessoal. Muito obrigado. Rafa, quer falar alguma coisa ainda?
Não.
Não? Ok. Muito obrigado. 1h50 de live, mas o Alberto tem licença aqui. Então, grazie.
Grazie mille. Ciao.
Ciao.
Tchau.